The 8th year of his service at Vance Industries found Caleb as Leo Vance's exclusive personal aide. Leo, the formidable CEO, often found him inefficient, deriding him with a particular fondness for the word mutt. Later, he would have Caleb pinned against the fine leather of his sofa, fingers tracing his waist with a feline grace, his voice a low purr as he questioned why his good aide was trembling. Leo had just concluded a meeting with a junior executive. Caleb and the other staff had waited outside the penthouse office for half an hour, the muffled cadence of their voices a faint hum through the soundproof door. Finally, Leo's voice, sharp and clear through the intercom, instructed security to escort her out. The security detail entered and emerged moments later with the woman. Soon after, Leo's voice cut through the silence again, a curt command for Caleb to get in there. Leo sat at his sprawling obsidian desk, clad in a simple white dress shirt. Upon seeing Caleb enter, he picked up a fountain pen and gestured toward the inkwell. Caleb understood this was a signal for another long night of transcribing meeting minutes, a pointless exercise in penmanship. From 10 until midnight, stacks of crisp bond paper had been filled with Leo's elegant script. Observing that Leo had no intention of stopping, Caleb decided to intervene. He expressed his belief that it was time for Leo to retire for the night. But the pen slammed onto the desk with a sharp crack, splattering black ink across a pristine sheet. Caleb felt a few droplets land on his cheek. Leo remarked with a calm that felt more dangerous than rage that he had almost mistaken him for a mute. Despite the placid tone, Caleb sensed the turbulent undercurrents beneath the surface. He lowered his head, his expression impassive, and apologized, stating that his own clumsy speech might disturb the CEO's focus. Leo leaned back in his chair, toying with the heavy gold signet ring on his finger. He wondered aloud if a few days of Caleb being confined to his quarters had fostered resentment. Caleb assured him that was not the case. Leo looked at him with a predatory curiosity, commenting that he'd nearly forgotten. For a man with Caleb's looks, he mused, there was likely no shortage of people eager for his company. Then, his line of questioning shifted abruptly. He asked what Caleb thought of the executive who had just been escorted out, and whether he would be amenable if Leo arranged a match between them. Even knowing it was a cruel game, Caleb had to provide the expected response. He sank to his knees with practiced ease, professing that he would never dare to touch someone who belonged to the CEO. Leo leaned forward and gripped his chin. His dark eyes narrowed with the innate pressure of a man born to power. He questioned whether it was a matter of not daring or not wanting. Caleb met his gaze without flinching, reiterating that he dared not and did not want. The thumb on his chin gradually moved upward, at first just wiping away a speck of ink from his lip. After a few soft strokes, it forced his jaw open without, then pressed down hard against the root of his tongue. The sudden intrusion made him gag, a wave of nausea rising in his throat. He fought it until his cheeks were flushed a deep crimson. Only then did Leo finally withdraw his hand. He methodically wiped his fingers, slick with Caleb's saliva, on Caleb's chest. A smile touched his lips, seemingly satisfied with the preceding answer and performance. He supposed, then, that there was no other choice. The junior executive was dead the next morning. The official story was that she had been so overjoyed by a sudden promotion that she'd celebrated with too much champagne and fallen from the balcony of the rooftop pool. Caleb felt no surprise when he heard the news. He knew her fate was sealed the moment she slipped him a note expressing her affections. As she had been escorted out of the office, their eyes had met. He had seen a flash of mockery in her gaze. She must have thought him a fool for spurning her, a woman who, a day after being rejected by a mere aide, found herself in the CEO's private office. He had calmly looked away, hoping only that Leo would make it quick. He had grown accustomed to such events. From the day Leo had inherited the Vance empire, Caleb's freedom had vanished. Every person who entered his orbit was a potential informant, reporting his every move with meticulous detail. He suspected that even his quiet act of brewing a cup of Leo's private stock coffee earlier had already been reported. Sure enough, that evening, a full canister of the rare blend appeared in his apartment. He lifted the lid and inhaled the rich, aromatic fragrance. A moment later, it slipped from his grasp and shattered on the floor, the dark grounds scattering like the fragmented pieces of his life when he first arrived here. He had been brought into the Vance household at 10 and became the CEO's personal aide at 18. In the 2 years since Leo's ascension, Caleb had remained by his side, an unchanging fixture. But no one knew he was, in fact, 36 years old. At 26, during a research expedition, he had fallen from a cliff. He awoke in the body of a 10-year-old boy, his hands and feet bound on a bed in a sterile white room. A gleaming surgical tool waved before his eyes. They forced his jaw open, stuffing something into his mouth to stifle his screams. In a haze of pain and confusion, he felt a searing agony that severed him from his former life. From a promising postgraduate medical researcher to a neutered servant in a dynastic corporate world, it was a cosmic joke of the highest order. During his recovery, the thought of death was a constant companion. Yet, seeing the vibrant life around him, the will to survive would flare up again. He gradually accepted his new reality in this cycle of despair and hope. For years, a sense of powerless, overwhelming dread never truly left him. He first met Leo when the boy was only 8. It was the dead of winter, and Caleb was tasked with delivering meals to a neglected wing of the estate. Leo's younger brother, the favored son, was already draped in designer cashmere. Leo's clothes, while not ragged, were far from new. Initially, Caleb would wait quietly for him to finish eating and then leave. One day he stumbled, spilling the tray. A splash of hot soup on his hand released a faint, almost imperceptible odor. Years of studying pharmaceuticals had made him acutely sensitive to chemical scents. Without thinking, he lunged forward, snatching the bowl from Leo's hand and dashing its contents to the floor. Leo seemed startled, sitting frozen as he watched Caleb with wide, cautious eyes. When Caleb came to his senses, he realized his impulsiveness. In this gilded cage, only a select few would dare to harm the disfavored heir. He looked at Leo, at the boy's shockingly clear and innocent eyes, and his resolve softened. He warned him not to eat the food, explaining that it was poisoned. Leo stared at him for a long time before whispering that Caleb should be careful. Such words could be dangerous. Such a good kid, Caleb thought, relegated to this cold corner of the estate and still worried about a stranger. He confirmed that the food contained a slow-acting neurotoxin, which would lead to cognitive decline and eventually dementia. He patted the boy's head and, in a fit of recklessness, sat down beside him. Leo looked up at him in disbelief, as Caleb was likely the first servant to ever touch an heir's head. Leo quietly asked if Caleb wasn't afraid of dying. Caleb didn't know if he meant for exposing the poison or for the audacious gesture. He chose the answer he wanted to give. He admitted he was afraid, but if his end could ensure another life continued, he could accept it. It was better than wasting away from self-pity over his own broken existence. Leo was silent for a while. Just as Caleb was about to leave, the boy poured him a cup of tea. As it touched his lips, he tasted the distinct notes of a rare detoxifying herb. On the night of the annual company gala, The sky above the city erupted with fireworks. Caleb carried a meal tray to Leo's wing of the estate. The path grew colder and more deserted the further he went. After Leo finished his meal, Caleb pulled a single, perfect rose from the bottom of the tray and handed it to him. He'd plucked it from the garden on his way over. Leo held it and hugged him, his smile pure and content. When spring came, Caleb showed him how to forage for edible wild greens in the estate gardens. Leo declared he never knew weeds could taste so delicious. During the summer thunderstorms, the boy would curl up in Caleb's arms, begging him to stay. On those nights, Caleb would hold him close, patting his back until he fell asleep. Leo's eyes were so transparent that Caleb never thought to ask how he knew about the poison or the detoxifying herb. He forgot about the backstabbing politics of the corporate dynasty. He couldn't see any deep cunning in the child before him. Until one late autumn evening, he saw the 12-year-old Leo, with a chillingly blank expression, snap the neck of a young housemaid. The paper lantern in Caleb's hand, long extinguished by the wind, fell to the ground with a soft thud. There was a splash from the dark lake behind Leo. The boy walked toward him, bent down and picked up the lantern. He smiled at Caleb, the same clean, pure smile. A lump formed in Caleb's throat. 1,000 words caught and strangled before they could be spoken. He turned and fled. As he reached the main hall, he was cornered by Julian Croft, the son of a rival magnate. Reeking of alcohol, Julian grinned at him, slurring that the little beauty had been waiting for him. Caleb didn't understand. He had only encountered the man briefly on his way in and offered a polite nod. In his mind, his perfect partner was someone gentle and generous, someone who would blush while kissing him and tell him she was giving herself to him completely. Not this being pinned down by a spoiled brute, a forced, violent coupling. The moment his trousers were torn away, he reached a hand out toward the window, where Leo stood watching in the shadows. On his neck, he felt Julian's slick, wet tongue. In his eyes, he saw Leo's impassive back as he turned and walked away. He didn't remember when Julian left. He only remembered the blood and the raw, late autumn wind that sliced through the broken window, a pain that seemed to penetrate his very bones. After that night, he no longer took the assignment to deliver food to Leo's wing. He requested a transfer to the family's mountain lodge, a menial groundskeeping job. Sunrises and sunsets bled into one another for 4 years. Then, black banners were hung at the corporate headquarters. The old patriarch had died. 3 days later, the news broke. Leo Vance was the new CEO. A young maid named Maya, who had come to the lodge with him, told him secretly that she wanted to return to the city. She asked him if he knew of any way to get the new CEO's attention when he came for his summer retreat. Caleb, squatting and pulling weeds, told her that perhaps if she presented him with a beautiful rose, he might be pleased enough to take her back. Maya blinked, pointing out that it wasn't the season for roses. He laughed, admitting he was joking, and that a man as powerful as Leo couldn't be swayed by something so simple. The day Leo arrived at the lodge, Caleb deliberately worked in the most remote section of the grounds. As his shift was ending, Maya ran up to him, whispering that she thought the new CEO was acting strangely. He asked her what she meant. Maya pointed to the highest pavilion on the property, saying that the CEO had been sitting there all day, just sitting. Caleb looked up. The pavilion directly overlooked the courtyard where he had been working. At dusk, he lit a lantern and walked the small path back to his quarters. He heard footsteps following him. He spun around, raising the lantern high. Its warm, yellow light illuminated a face that was both familiar and foreign. 4 years had sharpened the angles of Leo's face. Leo said his name, Caleb. Caleb immediately dropped to his knees, acknowledging the presence of his employer. After a long silence, Leo's voice, laced with a strange anger, commanded him to rise. Caleb replied that he didn't know what the CEO wished to discuss. Julian Croft is dead. Caleb remained on the ground, stating that he had heard. The entire Croft family, implicated in corporate espionage and treason, had been ruined. 154 members of their dynasty, all disgraced. He recited that the CEO's adherence to the law and his decisive actions were a CR to the nation's business landscape. Leo walked over and forced his chin up, making him look at him. He repeated that Julian Croft was dead. This time, Caleb met his gaze and held it. So what, he asked, what was the CEO trying to say? Leo wanted to say that he had avenged him, that Caleb should be grateful. But a man like Julian Croft would never remember a single violated aid. His death had nothing to do with Caleb. On his deathbed, Julian would have only cursed his father for his ambition. Caleb understood this, and so did Leo. They stared at each other in silence. Then, Leo pulled Caleb to his feet, his grip tight. He insisted that Julian's appearance had been an unforeseen complication, and that he couldn't have jeopardized years of planning for one unexpected event. Caleb knew this, he said calmly, which was why he had never let it bother him. He suggested Leo do the same. He didn't want to dwell on it. It was better to tear out the thorn than to let it fester. In most people's minds, they would only feel sympathy for a violated woman. For a man, they wouldn't offer pity, only mockery for discovering a new world. Leo stayed at the lodge for 5 days. The day before he was set to leave, the head of staff found Caleb and informed him that he would be returning to the city with the CEO the next day. Caleb nodded without protest. He knew refusal was pointless. Leo was no longer the neglected boy. His word was law. That evening, Caleb was reassigned from groundskeeping to personal service in Leo's suite. Seeing that Leo was in a good mood, Caleb served him a drink and carefully broached a subject. He requested permission to bring one person back with him to the city. Leo's brow furrowed for a moment. Then he consented. On the day of their departure, Maya slipped past the crowd and pressed a small, intricate pastry into his hand. She bumped his shoulder excitedly, whispering about how it felt like her wish had been granted by a divine power. He patted her head and broke the pastry in half, placing a piece in her mouth. He agreed, joking that he was probably just riding her coattails. Maya grinned, made a playful face, and skipped back to her position. He held the remaining half of the pastry, about to eat it, when a glance upward caught Leo lowering the tinted window of his limousine. Back in the city, Leo assigned Caleb to his personal staff, making him his right-hand aide. He would often bring up their time in the old wing of the estate. Most of the time, Caleb would pretend not to remember clearly and give a vague response. Half a year passed. One night, the wind rattled the window frames. A storm raged outside, lightning flashing across the sky. Leo put down the file he was reading and looked thoughtfully toward the window. After a long moment, he commented that it was thundering. Caleb, preparing a fresh pot of coffee, didn't look up, remarking that it was just a squall and would likely pass in 15 minutes. Leo hummed in agreement. Then, suddenly, he mentioned that a senior board member had visited a few days prior, seeking a suitable match for his eldest son. He recalled that the young woman who had returned with Caleb from the lodge was of a suitable age. He was considering bestowing a title of corporate nobility upon her and arranging the marriage. Caleb's hand paused for a fraction of a second before he resumed his task. It was indeed a good match, a true rags-to-riches story. But Maya had once told him her only dream was to save enough money to leave this life, buy a small house, and live quietly. She said her first half of life had been tiring enough. She didn't want the second half to be spent serving a husband and children. He had remembered her words because they didn't seem to belong to someone from their world. After some thought, he spoke up. He suggested that perhaps Leo could assign Maya to him as a platonic partner for public functions. In front of Leo, he couldn't say no. He could only try to rewrite the ending. He had a place outside the city. Maya could live there quietly if she wished. After leaving Vance Industries, she would be free. A dead silence fell. Leo, sitting on his throne-like chair, spoke with an unnerving calm. He told him to say it again. Caleb began to repeat his suggestion when a loud crash echoed through the room. Without any, Leo was on his feet, his hands around Caleb's neck, slamming him against the desk. He snarled Caleb's name, him not to push his luck. His eyes were bloodshot, his entire being radiating a chilling fury. He hissed that he was already showing Caleb considerable face by letting her live. Letting her live? The out-of-place phrase made Caleb momentarily forget that the man choking him was one of the most powerful people in the country. He clawed at Leo's hands, demanding to know what Maya had done to offend him. Leo's eyes burned into his. He explained that she was too close to Caleb, and he couldn't tolerate her presence. His grip slowly loosened, his thumb gently stroking Caleb's neck. He warned that if Caleb were to confess any feelings for her at that moment, it would be her death sentence. Perhaps it was Leo's searing gaze, but a preposterous idea began to form in Caleb's mind. He stammered that he didn't understand. His shirt was violently torn open. He looked down to see Leo leaving an angry, red bite mark on his collarbone. Leo looked up at him, questioning whether he didn't understand or refused to. His mind exploded. He shoved Leo away and fell to the floor, his forehead touching the cold marble. He pleaded with the CEO, stating that he had no such inclinations and could not be his lover. This joke was not funny. Before Leo became CEO, Caleb had only ever treated him as a younger charge. Afterward, as his superior. This felt as absurd as a neighbor's child telling him he wanted to sleep with him. Leo seemed to have anticipated his response. He let out a low laugh. He confessed that he hadn't wanted to say anything, but Caleb was too obtuse. He spoke of the numerous private meetings between Caleb and Maya, and how he had to spend hours transcribing meaningless documents just to suppress the urge to kill. Caleb didn't want to explain that Maya was like a sister to him, that there was nothing between them. He bowed his head and offered a sincere suggestion, that Leo give Maya a generous severance and let her leave the company. A twist of fate, but it was for the best. After Maya left, Caleb had no one left in this world to confide in. As for Leo, he began to actively try to get himself fired. The fourth time, he accidentally broke an expensive vase in Leo's office. The CEO finally spoke. If his aide enjoyed smashing things so much, he would have all the porcelain in his penthouse sent to Caleb's apartment, where he could smash them to his heart's content. Caleb, expressionless, spun a lie about his clumsiness and offered to find a more competent replacement. Leo retorted that he wasn't clumsy, he was just stupid. He sat at his desk, not even looking up, and added that if Caleb was trying to get away from him with these foolish antics, he might as well just burn the place down. Feeling a bit defeated, Caleb conceded that the CEO was, as always, brilliant. Leo laughed at his insolence, then called him a mutt several times in a row. From then on, they fell into an unspoken routine. Caleb would cause trouble, and Leo would curse at him. If Leo ever made him stand by while he transcribed documents, it meant Caleb had done something to make him jealous again. The staff had just cleaned up the shattered coffee canister when another aide came running, begging Caleb to check on Leo in the main office. Caleb found the request amusing. He took a sip of tea and a bite of a cookie, looking at the anxious man. The aide had said the CEO had locked himself in and wanted to be left alone. Yet now he was asking Caleb to intervene. He wondered if the aide thought that because he was used to being yelled at, he was immune to Leo's wrath. The aide pleaded with him, refilling his cup with a trembling hand. He explained that while Leo might yell at Caleb, everyone knew who he truly favored. If even Caleb didn't dare to enter the office, then no one would. Leo had returned from a meeting at the matriarch's residence and had been secluded ever since. The staff was genuinely worried. Caleb put down his cup, asking if Leo had gone to see his mother. The aide nodded, glancing around before lowering his voice. He speculated that the matriarch must have said something to upset him again. Outside, the wind picked up, and soon, raindrops began to spatter against the window pane. Caleb stood, grabbed an umbrella, and instructed the kitchen to send dinner in an hour. The sky was dark with storm clouds, lightning arcing overhead. The aides outside the main office were pacing anxiously. When they saw Caleb, they rushed to meet him. He tossed them the umbrella and held up a hand for silence. Then he pushed open the heavy office doors. The room was dark, the curtains billowing wildly in the wind. Leo was sitting on the floor by the massive bed, staring out the window. Hearing the door open, he spoke without turning, his voice cold. "Matt, who gave you permission to enter?" Caleb didn't retreat. He walked over and stood in front of him. He asked how the CEO knew it was him without even looking. Leo looked up, his gaze fixing on Caleb. After a long moment, he leaned forward and wrapped his arms tightly around Caleb's legs. He just knew. Caleb could feel the grip on his legs tightening. After Leo whispered his name, Caleb's compassion got the better of him, and he patted his head. What an accomplishment, he thought wryly. He used to pat the heir's head, and now he was patting the head of the CEO. After some time, Leo asked if Caleb knew who had poisoned his food back in the old wing. Caleb shook his head, guessing it was one of the other family matriarchs trying to pave the way for her own son. But that didn't make sense. Leo had been a forgotten child, hardly a threat worth eliminating. "It was my father." Caleb froze. Leo continued, saying that for years he never understood his father's animosity. They shared a mother, yet his younger brother was raised by her side, showered with affection, while he was sent away within an hour of his birth to be raised by staff. Now he finally understood. The blood in his veins was not Vance's blood at all. Caleb pushed him away, his expression serious, him not to speak such nonsense. Leo gave a bitter laugh, asking what if he told him his mother had confessed it herself that very day. Caleb was stunned into silence. Leo took his hand, guiding him to sit on the floor beside him. He revealed that his mother had been in love with a decorated general, a man named Marcus Thorne. She was already pregnant with Thorne's child when Thorne was killed in action. His father, who had long admired his mother, arranged for a marriage immediately after learning of Thorne's death. His mother confessed everything, but his father was so infatuated that he promised to let the child live, as long as it was a boy, and he relinquished any claim to the inheritance. 2 years ago, when Leo staged his corporate coup, the look in his father's eyes wasn't hatred, but regret. He must have regretted not strangling him at birth. When he finished, only the sound of the storm filled the room. Caleb spoke quietly, telling Leo he shouldn't be sharing this with him. Leo looked at him, then slowly leaned over and rested his head in Caleb's lap. He wrapped his arms around Caleb's waist, his voice tinged with loneliness. But he wanted to tell him. The thunder still roared outside, the rain falling harder than ever, just like on so many stormy nights years ago. Caleb gently patted Leo's back, soothing him. He suggested they have dinner, promising to stay with him until he fell asleep. Leo nodded into his lap and asked them to bring a small table, so Caleb could eat with him. Caleb agreed. The next day, the Vance matriarch passed away. Leo ordered her to be interred in the family mausoleum, but not beside the late patriarch. At the mid-autumn gala, a celebration was disrupted by an assassination attempt, a remnant of the disgraced Croft family. The assassin, disguised as a server, approached the main table. As she neared Leo, a glint of metal flashed in her hand. Leo, sipping his wine, was oblivious. Caleb, standing beside him, sensed the danger and shoved him out of the way. Despite his quick reaction, the blade still bit into his shoulder. In the next instant, Leo was on his feet, a powerful kick sending the woman flying. The room erupted in chaos. Security swarmed in. Caleb looked down at his wound, and the world went black. When he opened his eyes again, the face of Dr. Evans, the head of the company's medical department, filled his vision, pale as a ghost. He called out the doctor's name. Dr. Evans's eyes snapped open, life flooding back into his face as he exclaimed that Caleb was awake. Caleb followed the doctor's gaze to see Leo, his already intimidating face now frighteningly dark. Judging by the sweat on Dr. Evans's brow, Leo must have been threatening him again. Leo looked at Caleb and gestured for everyone else to leave. As the staff filed out, Caleb realized he was lying on the massive bed in Leo's private quarters within the penthouse. With just the two of them in the room, Leo stared at him without a word. The unreadable expression in his eyes made Caleb uneasy. He forced a smile, about to joke about how concerned the CEO was, when something stopped him cold. He saw the glint of something wet and crystalline at the corner of Leo's eye. His throat tightened. He asked him why he was crying. Leo's voice was strained. He was the head of Vance Industries. He had a security detail to handle threats. He didn't need a powerless aide taking a knife for him. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides, his whole body trembling with suppressed rage. He demanded to know if Caleb realized how easily he could have been killed. It was pure luck it was only his shoulder. If the blade had been aimed at his chest, he wouldn't have survived. To be stabbed, pass out from pain, and then wake up to a furious lecture was not how Caleb had imagined this playing out. He knew Leo's anger came from worry, but he still felt a surge of indignation. He told Leo not to be so angry, that he wasn't trying to be a hero, he was just clumsy. Besides, Dr. Evans had said the wound wasn't serious. He had only fainted because of his low pain tolerance. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he started to get up, pushing away the silk sheets. If his presence was so irritating, he would return to his own quarters and stay out of his sight. He swung his legs over the side of the bed. "Don't move." Leo was there in an instant, one hand on Caleb's chest, the other supporting his back. Seeing that Caleb was genuinely angry, he sighed, his tone finally softening. He said that if Caleb didn't want to hear it, he would stop. He was still injured. There was no need to punish himself. Seeing Leo yield so easily, Caleb was suddenly at a loss for words. He allowed himself to be gently pushed back down onto the bed, the phrase "spoiled by indulgence" floating clearly in his mind. He spent several days recovering in the penthouse. The staff treated him like a second master. Caleb tried several times to return to his own apartment to recuperate, but Leo refused each time. One day, while Leo was out, Caleb packed his things, planning to leave without permission. He had barely taken a step out the door when the entire household staff dropped to their knees in a silent, pleading wall. He stepped back, defeated. There was no point in making things difficult for these innocent people. After a few more restless days, his wound had mostly healed. When he brought up the subject of leaving again, Leo simply hummed his assent. With the wound healed, there was no excuse to stay. That evening, Leo had a chaise lounge brought into the room. Seeing Caleb's confusion, he explained that he needed to ensure there were no mishaps on Caleb's last night there. With that, he lay down on the chaise, pillowed his head with one arm, and closed his eyes. Caleb lay on the large bed, his back to Leo, feeling that something was off. In this fortress of a penthouse, surrounded by security, what kind of mishap could possibly befall him? He was the one usurping the owner's bed. The thought made him restless. If you're not gonna sleep, what are you tossing and turning for? Leo's voice, sudden and sharp in the quiet room, startled him. He looked over. The chaise was not small, but with Leo's tall frame, it looked cramped. Caleb spoke tentatively, suggesting that the bed was more than large enough for two. He trailed off, offering for Leo to sleep there instead. Leo just stared at him, giving no reply. Caleb turned back around, feeling foolish. He decided it was Leo's own choice not to come over. If he was uncomfortable, it wasn't his fault. He pulled the covers up, closed his eyes, and settled in. A moment later, the sheets behind him were lifted, and Leo slipped in beside him, a source of intense, radiating heat. After lying still for a while, assuming Leo was asleep, Caleb carefully inched away. "I never touched them." Leo's voice, a sudden whisper in the silent room, made him freeze. When he recovered, he frowned. "What? Those junior executives, the socialites. I never touched any of them." His voice was small, with a hint of grievance. "I just wanted to see if you would get jealous." Caleb found it amusing but didn't dare laugh. If he hadn't been able to see through Leo's childish ploys, he would have wasted all those extra years of life he had on him. He had once performed a self-examination. A room after a genuine intimate encounter would carry a certain scent, but Leo's quarters never did. He even suspected the disheveled state of the bedsheets had been staged by Leo himself. He hummed a non-committal response. Leo's voice grew louder as he asked again if Caleb believed him. Caleb said he did. Leo suddenly propped himself up, leaning over him. He stared into Caleb's eyes, his lips close to his ear, his voice husky and seductive. "And why does my aide believe me?" Caleb met his gaze defiantly. "Why shouldn't I?" In response, Leo's hand shot out and gripped his waist. Caleb's eyes widened, one hand flying up to press against Leo's heaving chest. "Let me go." A playful smile touched Leo's lips. "Good aide, what are you trembling for?" Realizing Leo was deliberately teasing him, he tried to get out of bed in a huff. He had barely lifted himself up when Leo threw a leg over him, pinning him back down. He was about to curse him when his chin was seized again, and a warm pressure met his lips. "What are you doing?" In the flickering firelight, he saw Leo's face, lost in desire, his throat working. He murmured that his aide had started it. Caleb protested that it was nonsense, that the man was shamelessly shifting blame. His words of defense were cut off as Leo's mouth claimed his again, a fierce, demanding kiss that left no room for breath. Hot breath ghosted over his skin, sending shivers through him. Unlike that broken autumn night long ago, this time he tilted his head back, closed his eyes, and let himself fall. After the assassination attempt, the pressure for Leo to produce an heir became a top priority for the board. Even though Leo had already stated he had no immediate plans to marry, some board members persisted. One day, in the main boardroom, Leo threw a file across the table in frustration. Caleb silently picked it up and placed it back. He stated calmly that the previous CEO was married with children by 19. He reminded Leo of his duty to the company and the country, and that appointing a successor was an inevitability. Hearing this, Leo's face darkened, his eyes fixed on Caleb. Caleb continued, suggesting it would be better to secure the line of succession sooner rather than later, to train a new generation to share his burden. Leo grabbed his wrist, pulling him forward until they were face to face. His voice was glacial. "Is that what you really think?" Caleb nodded. Of course. Seeing the sincerity in his eyes, Leo seemed to deflate. He mumbled that Caleb had never once been jealous on his account. A jolt went through Caleb. How was he supposed to be jealous of a man like him? Did he actually expect them to be a real couple? When Leo's jaw tightened, his stubborn gaze screaming, "Why not?" Caleb realized a very serious problem. Leo Vance was insane. At the next board meeting, Leo lost his temper. He declared that anyone who brought up the matter of his marriage again would have their sons sent to manage the company's most remote and dangerous overseas operations. The few executives who had been about to speak quickly retreated. Caleb pursed his lips, walked to the front of the room, and knelt. Leo frowned, confused, and asked what he was doing. Caleb stared at the polished floor and spoke. He reminded the CEO that he had earned a reward for his actions at the gala. He wanted to claim it now. A wave of whispers went through the room. They must have been thinking how a mere aide had no sense of propriety. He had deliberately chosen this public forum, knowing Leo wouldn't refuse him in front of everyone. After a moment, a cold voice came from above him. "State your price." Caleb closed his eyes, shutting out the world. "I want my freedom." The whispers grew louder, now mixed with disbelief. With such an opportunity, he wasn't asking for money or power, but freedom? He lowered his head further, asking for the CEO's approval. An eternity seemed to pass before the voice answered, colder and harder than before, as if dredged up from a frozen abyss. Granted. The CEO's office was a wasteland of shattered porcelain. The vases Caleb had spared were now in pieces, destroyed by their owner. Caleb knelt before the wreckage, his gaze unfocused. The man who had just been in a blind rage was now sitting quietly in his chair, eyes closed. If not for the rhythmic tapping of his fingers, he would have looked asleep. After a long while, Leo slowly opened his eyes. His gaze fell on his hand, and after a moment's thought, he removed his heavy gold signet ring. He called for an aide. He placed the ring on the desk in plain sight. "My signet ring is missing," he announced. "Have someone find it." The aide was experienced. Without a word, he picked up the ring and left. A short time later, he returned and placed the ring back on the desk. He reported that the item had been found in Caleb's apartment. Caleb looked up in shock. Leo impassively put the ring back on his finger and spoke in a low voice. For his theft, Caleb's salary would be docked for a month, and he would be confined to his quarters. No one was to enter or leave without his express permission. Caleb knew then what was happening. Leo ignored him. In fact, he hadn't looked at him once since they left the boardroom. 2 security guards took him by the arms and began to lead him away. Fury overriding his reason, he shouted, "Leo!" The use of the CEO's first name sent a shockwave through the room. Everyone present dropped to their knees. Leo's back stiffened. He squeezed out 3 words through gritted teeth. "Take him away." He was locked in an unfamiliar guest suite. For 3 days he refused to eat. The staff who brought his meals pleaded with him, and for the first time, he yelled at them to get out. 5 days ago, he had been wondering why he had let what happened between them happen. He had explicitly told Leo he could not be his lover. Yet when Leo had approached him with such intensity, he found he couldn't refuse him. He had to admit he had developed feelings he shouldn't have. But it had been a single, conscious exception. He never wanted to be entangled with Leo. Leo was a titan of industry. He would eventually have a wife and a dynasty. The 21st century man that Caleb still was inside would not allow him to debase himself by becoming a kept man. As for Leo's desire for them to be a couple, it was utterly absurd. Powerful men were heartless. He would not gamble his future on him. On the 4th day of his confinement, Leo kicked the door open. He stood silhouetted against the light, his expression unreadable. "You're determined to leave, aren't you?" Caleb didn't hesitate. "Yes." A toxic laugh escaped Leo's lips. He asked if Caleb's request to send Maya away 2 years ago was all in preparation for this day. Caleb's memory flickered for a moment. Yes, there was still Maya. He looked up, meeting Leo's gaze. "If you dare to touch her," he warned, "you'll be collecting 2 bodies." Leo moved like a predator, his hands closing around Caleb's neck. "Do you really think I wouldn't kill you?" The pressure was immense. He couldn't make a sound. He thought he was truly going to die. A second before he lost consciousness, the grip on his neck vanished. He gasped for air, his vision blurry. Through narrowed eyes, he saw Leo pour something into a glass of wine. "I'll ask you one last time." He held the glass out. "I want you to stay. Will you, or won't you?" Caleb took the glass and drained it in one gulp. "I won't." When he woke up, he was in a moving vehicle parked alone in a forest. Inside was a briefcase filled with enough money to last a lifetime. He shouldered a small bag and started walking down a dirt road, with no destination in mind. Anywhere was fine. Leo Vance was engaged. The news reported it was to Serafina Chun, the eldest daughter of a powerful senator, known as the city's most brilliant socialite. In a small-town cafe, a local storyteller recounted the news with dramatic flair. Caleb sipped his coffee, lost in thought. When the storyteller slammed his gavel down, he applauded along with the rest of the crowd. "Good. Excellent." It was long overdue. That night, he set up a small table in the courtyard of his new home. The harsh liquor burned his throat, heightening his senses. In a haze, he found himself missing the 26-year-old Caleb, the promising young man who had fallen into this endless abyss. He raised his glass to the sky and shouted to the empty night, "Go back and tell your master." He stood, flinging the contents of his glass onto the ground. "We are quits." A branch in a nearby tree trembled, showering leaves to the ground. Then silence. He used the money to open the largest pharmacy in town. The daily scent of herbs and chemicals made him feel as if he had returned to his old life. After 6 months, the business was stable. He took on many apprentices, teaching them everything he knew. One day, while the apprentices were out on a house call, he went up the mountain alone to gather medicinal plants. Standing halfway up the slope, he saw dark clouds gathering overhead and felt a strange, inexplicable fear. The rumble of thunder vibrated through him. He felt as if something was tearing at him. The world started to spin. He forced himself to start heading down the mountain. His vision blurred, and the world grew quiet. A bolt of lightning struck the ground less than a foot away from him. He lost his footing and fell backward, tumbling down the steep incline before plunging over the edge of a ravine. As his body went airborne, a sense of relief washed over him. Finally, it was over. He's waking up. Go get Dr. Shaw. Caleb's awake. The sounds were a chaotic buzz. Something was beeping steadily beside him. A minute later, hurried footsteps stopped by his side. Someone pried his eyelid open, and a bright light made him want to cry. The light vanished. A low voice spoke. "Caleb, can you hear me?" The voice shocked him into a higher state of awareness. "Shouldn't be. Caleb, you need to wake up." But it sounded so much like him. He desperately tried to open his eyes, but they felt sealed shut. He strained, pushing against the darkness. After what felt like an eternity, he gasped, his eyes finally fluttering open. Everything was white, and 4 drip was connected to the back of his hand. A doctor in a white coat came into his field of vision. The doctor reached up and pulled down his surgical mask. "Caleb, you're finally awake." The heart monitor began to alarm loudly. Tears started to stream uncontrollably from Caleb's eyes. "That face. Leo," he whispered, "is that you?"